Get ready, Staten Island.
Tonight, the Ferry Hawks host the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars with first pitch at 6:30. Thursday, it's a doubleheader starting at 4 p.m. with Jewish Heritage Night. As for this game, the Ferry Hawks will play as the Staten Island Menches. Friday at 7 p.m., it's soccer night and kids glow around the bases postgame. Saturday at 6:30, it's Broadway night with postgame fireworks and Broadway rave. Sunday at 1:30, it's Military Appreciation Day and the kids run around the bases.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats. The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
People love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, give him his own. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
You are now diving headfirst in the deep end of the Stone Zone. Well, President Donald Trump once again demonstrated his unyielding commitment to election integrity and the truth about the 2020 election, storming off the set of NBC's Meet the Press during a heated interview with host Kristen Welker. This is not the first time for Welker. She has yet to correct or apologize for the blatant lies she made on air about President Donald Trump's reaction to a shooting near the White House back on August 10th, 2020. Trump was ushered from the podium by the Secret Service and returned about 10 minutes later to report quite calmly about what happened. Ms. Welker then asked the president if he was at all rattled by the experience, to which he calmly and rhetorically replied, "Do I look rattled?" 2 hours later, Ms. Welker reported from the White House on the air that when she asked the president if he was rattled, he said, "Well, of course." Welker and MSNBC refused to correct her false reporting when the National Legal and Policy Center attorney Paul Kamenar called her out on it. Trump was right about to cut short his recent interview with the crooked Welker in Wisconsin, who denied Trump's claim once again that she was a liberal, actually saying with a straight face, "No, I'm just a journalist." If she's just a journalist, why did she give that big contribution to Kamala Harris? After Welker repeatedly smeared him with baseless accusations of no evidence and attacked the January 6th Patriots, claiming that there were no evidence that January 6th was a setup, Trump had finally had enough of this one-sided ambush. He ripped off the microphone, tossed it down, and declared, "Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC, CBS, and CNN." Trump then crushed the mic underfoot as he walked off, a fitting symbol of rejecting the continued fake news propaganda. Trump grilled Welker for 6 minutes, defending January 6 supporters targeted by the Biden regime and exposing the rigged trials and dirty cops who were involved. He highlighted his proposed $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund to protect Americans from weaponized government. What they did to the lives of people, they destroyed people. They sent people to jail who did nothing wrong. When Welker defended California's delayed vote counting, that's how they vote in California, Trump fired back, "Do you think it's appropriate that they have an election and 5 days later they still don't have a result? You're nowhere close to picking a winner. You're either crooked or you're stupid," the president said. I think he got that right. Trump's refusal to budge on the 2020 stolen election remains a cornerstone of his America First agenda. What's amazing is that the mainstream media won't finally admit, based on the now overwhelming evidence of election fraud in 2020, that the whole thing was fixed. In major Democrat-run cities, glaring irregularities screamed fraud. In Detroit's vote counting center, observers reported ballots being counted without proper oversight, with affidavits detailing unsecured ballots and mysterious vans delivering loads of ballots at 3 o'clock in the morning. Milwaukee saw suspicious surges in absentee ballots from Democrat strongholds, with turnout anomalies and indefinitely confined voter loopholes exploded en masse. Why were the Republican election observers physically removed by the Detroit police? Why did they put up large pieces of cardboard over the windows so nobody could see what was going on in the counting center? Atlanta's State Farm Marina footage captured suitcases of ballots pulled out from under tables after observers were told to leave, followed by massive Biden paper ballot dumps. Philadelphia and other urban machines delivered statistically impossible late-night vote spikes, favoring Biden by an 80 to 90% margin or more, defying all historical patterns and mathematical possibilities. These urban centers, long plagued by Democrat political machines, produced enough questionable ballots to flip key swing states back in 2020. President Trump has never wavered. The 2020 elections were rigged. There's more than overwhelming evidence against it, and the American people understand it. A recent Rasmussen poll showed that more than 80% of the people believe the 2020 election was fixed. The crooked media and the deep state know it. President Trump's bold stand exposes the fake news cartel's desperation. While elites smear patriots and rig the system, President Trump continues to fight for fair elections, secure borders, and justice. This is why the public trusts the president, and he will never back down. This is why fewer and fewer people are watching NBC, in particular, Ms. Welker. You see a perfect example of this in California's Los Angeles mayor's race. In this instances of grotesque election fraud, you do not have a go back to the 2020 presidential election. You can look at what is taking place in Los Angeles right now, where former reality TV star Spencer Pratt is really getting screwed. Los Angeles City Council member Nithya Raman mysteriously overtook Pratt for second place in the mayoral primary 9 days after Election Day, as dubious ballots keep pouring in. With 83.2% of votes counted, incumbent Karen Bass leads with 34.68%, while Raman, who conceded on election night, has suddenly surged to 27.12% over Pratt's 26.69%, flipping a pre-election polling edge and election night momentum through waves of these mysterious late-arriving mail-ins. The pattern is damning. Recent drops heavily favored Raman as around 40%, while Pratt received just 18%, and even Bass only 33%. Pratt, running as an outsider voice on crime and homelessness, watched as his lead evaporates as California's slow-rolling, bogus count dragged on. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy pinned the blame squarely on Governor Gavin Newsom's election reforms, which include universal mail-in ballots, same-day registration with no ID requirements, and dirty voter lists. In fact, showing a picture ID to vote in California is actually illegal. According to McCarthy, the real reason ID is banned in California is so to enlarge large-scale fraud. When you combine no ID and mail-in voting, fraud is de facto legalized, said the former speaker. Pratt's campaign rightly called out the farce. Votes for Raman have been ballooned without similar gains from Bass. How is it that all of these late-coming votes are overwhelming for Raman rather than Bass, the incumbent mayor, who, by the way, admits that her two political heroes are Mao Zedong and Fidel Castro? This isn't democracy. It's a rigged process designed to let Democrats manufacture outcomes after the polls have closed. Americans see through the truth. Unsecured mail-in ballots, chain of custody questions, signature verification rigor, and same-day transparency are inherently untrustworthy. President Trump's fight for election integrity has never been more urgent. Real reform, voter ID, election day voting, paper ballots, and cleaned-up voter rolls are essential to restoring faith in the system. If this does not compel the Senate to pass the Save America Act, as it's now called, well, then it's clear that our senators are in on the fraud scheme and stand with the enemies of this nation. Trump's pick for the director of national intelligence sends the deep state into a full meltdown. Bill Pulte has Democrats and rhinos squirming as President Donald Trump is delivering another masterclass in draining the swamp with his appointment of Pulte as the acting director of national intelligence. On Sunday's Face the Nation, Jim Himes of Connecticut, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, unleashed a panic tirade labeling Pulte's appointment by Trump the worst and most dangerous appointment. Himes demanded that Trump sober up and pull his pick of Pulte, admitting that it has derailed FISA Section 702 reauthorization, a controversial surveillance tool long abused by the intelligence community. Actually, if Bill Pulte's appointment causes the House and the Senate not to renew FISA Section 702, by the way, that's the section under which they illegally spied on Donald Trump's 2016 campaign, that would be an accomplishment in itself. Himes, a leftist, pleaded for an alternative and warned of potential terrorist attacks, exposing the deep state's reliance on unchecked power and their fear of real accountability. Trump, true to form, refuses to back down, making both Democrats and timid rhino Republicans visibly squirm. I know Bill Pulte. I've known him for years. He's a battle-tested reformer and America First loyalist, currently leading the Federal Housing Finance Agency, bringing outsider energy to the bloated intelligence community. His willingness to target political enemies of the president signals a long overdue house cleaning. They're very upset about the fact that he used publicly available documents to prove that Letitia James engaged in mortgage fraud. So did Lisa Cook, the member of the Federal Reserve Board. No, he didn't use and access proprietary databases. Everything Bill Pulte produced can be found online by anyone with a laptop. You see, there's a different standard. People like Adam Schiff or Eric Swalwell or Letitia James or Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook are allowed to engage in mortgage fraud. But if I did what they did, trust me, I'd already be in jail. By installing a proven disruptor without the taint of permanent DC insider corruption, Trump has thrown a wrench into the surveillance state's gears. This move proves that President Trump's iron resolve, the deep state's days are actually numbered. No more weaponized intelligence against patriots, no more endless FISA abuses, no more unaccountable bureaucrats hiding behind national security. While establishment figures like Himes, I'm embarrassed that this guy is from my home state of Connecticut, hyperventilate, Americans cheer a president who prioritizes loyalty over the people, loyalty over the swamp. Trump's strategic appointment exposes the intelligence cartel's desperation to protect their fiefdom and continue to cover up their lies. With Pulte at the helm, expect real reform, declassification of abuses, and justice for those targeted by the Biden era, a deep state. The era of unbridled intelligence overreach is ending. Trump is making America secure and sovereign again with the appointment of Bill Pulte. Newly released federal records have unearthed disturbing details about the July 13th, 2024 assassination attempt on President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, raising serious questions about potential insider involvement or catastrophic failures. Judicial Watch's Freedom of Information Act lawsuit forced the FBI to release 48 heavily redacted pages revealing that a Butler County Sheriff's Office deputy exchanged 2 emails with the alleged assassin Thomas Matthew Crooks prior to the attack. The contents of these emails remain completely blacked out, fueling suspicions of a deeper conspiracy. The deputy claimed no personal interaction and only realized the connection after a New York Times reporter contacted her. Why was Crooks emailing a local deputy? What exactly was discussed? Why are these emails or records redacted? It all screams of a cover-up of some time when the American people deserve total and complete transparency. Adding to the strange timeline, a SWAT officer recovered a gray remote device with an antenna from Crook's pocket. Details still murky and never previously reported to the American people. A Beaver County medic reported a police canine hit on the building where Crooks was perched. When we come back, more about questions about the attempted assassination on President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
It is a great, great person, Roger Stone.
The Stone Zone.
Roger Stone here. Your dollars are losing ground, but gold isn't. American Sovereign Bullion helps you protect your wealth through real, tangible assets. Through their nationwide wholesaler network, you get some of the best pricing on gold and silver delivered straight to your door. Since 1912, the U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold continues to prove its strength. So call 844-272-2428. That's 844-272-2428. Or visit dyingdollar.com to request your free gold and silver guide. That's dyingdollar.com.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Stone Zone. Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone. Where's Roger Stone?
Here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back into the Stone Zone. We're talking about the many unanswered questions regarding the attempted life on President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, and this shocking new revelation that a gray remote device with an antenna was found in Crook's pocket, a detail still not reported to the American people. A Beaver County medic reported a police canine hit on the building where Crooks perched, yet protocol lapses allowed the shooter to remain in position. In fact, he was seen for over 90 minutes inside the restricted area where Trump was going to appear. Questions also wonder about why Crook's body was cremated within 10 days of the attempted assassination. They also swirl around when Crook's body was actually removed and who handled the body bag. This is not normal. A direct email link between law enforcement and the shooter, combined with ongoing redactions and security breakdowns, point to either gross incompetence or something far more sinister. Why were the state, federal, and local police officers all on different radio frequencies so they couldn't communicate with each other? Well, the police and those in law enforcement may not have seen Crooks on the roof, but many average citizens did. You go on YouTube and see it yourself. It was pointed out for over 90 minutes. The deep state's history of weaponization against Trump makes these omissions unacceptable. President Trump and the American people demand unredacted, full documents, aggressive congressional probes, and full accountability now. The full truth behind this near miss must come out before there is yet another attempt. President Donald Trump has already been the target of 3 separate additional assassination attempts, and we still don't have the truth about the first one. Kind of reminds me of the Kennedy assassination. It's more than 50 years later, and we still don't know everything about who killed President John F. Kennedy and why. I'm afraid in the case of Crooks, we have an almost identical situation. I, for one, am not satisfied. I want to know more about Thomas Matthew Crooks. I'm not even sure that he's the actual shooter, and I find it hard to believe that he had no Confederates. Is it coincidental that he just been target practice shooting at the same place as the DHS officers? No, we need to know a lot more about who tried to kill President Donald Trump and more. I'm Roger Stone. You're listening to Stone Zone. Don't go away, because we'll be right back.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Stone Zone. Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone. Where's Roger Stone?
Here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back to the Stone Zone. Democrat hopes of flipping Maine's Senate seat are running headfirst into growing political liability in the name of one Graham Platner, once touted as the kind of left-wing insurgent who could threaten veteran Republican Senator Susan Collins. Platner is now facing a cascade of controversies that raise serious questions about his judgment, his character, and his electability. The Maine race is one Democrats badly want as they try to claw back control of the U.S. Senate from Republicans. But Platner's campaign has become less about defeating Collins and more about explaining away his own past. Reports about a tattoo resembling the Nazi-era Totenkopf symbol, inflammatory online posts, and comments tied to a Reddit account associated with him have already forced Democrats onto defense. The problems have only deepened. Platner also faced scrutiny over sexually explicit messages reportedly sent to multiple women while married, followed by a New York Times report in which several former girlfriends alleged troubling and even violent behavior. One former girlfriend, Lindsay Fiffield, said that Platner knew that his covered tattoo resembled, allegedly referring to it as my Totenkopf. That's the Nazi tattoo. Even Democrat strategists are sounding the alarm. Joel Payne warned that Platner cannot win if the race becomes a referendum on Platner himself, while Steve Shale says that he was utterly exasperated. A University of Massachusetts Lowell YouGov poll taken before the latest allegations showed Platner leading Collins by 5 points. It looked like Democrats have nominated a deeply flawed maniac whose baggage could hand Republicans a critical victory in Maine. Meanwhile, White House Chief of Staff Suzy Wiles, a friend of mine for over 30 years, is flatly rejecting baseless rumors of her departure and reaffirming her unwavering commitment to President Donald Trump. In a direct statement on X, Wiles dismissed a Friday UK Daily Mail report built entirely on anonymous insiders as Friday fiction, declaring, "I am not going anywhere. I'm honored and proud to serve President Trump, proud of our team, and remain fully committed to advancing his agenda on behalf of the American people." In her role as Chief of Staff, Wiles has been an absolute powerhouse, orchestrating one of the most effective White House operations in modern history. Suzy Wiles has always made certain that President Donald Trump hears all points of view before making a decision. Her steady hand has kept the American First agenda consistently on track, delivering historic results on border security, economic revival, tax reduction, and deep state accountability. Attempts to box her out, representing nothing more than leftist media and deep state wish casting, desperate efforts to sow division and weaken Trump's inner circle. The UK Daily Mail story, relying on unnamed sources, griping about staffing decisions like Bill Pulte's appointment to the Office of Director of National Intelligence, collapsed under immediate pushback. Trump's Rapid Response 47 team called it total BS and a fake hatchet job, while Deputy Chief of Staff James Blair labeled it as absurd and totally false. Wiles remains the steady anchor Trump needs. Her no-drama, results-driven style embodies the loyalty and competence the America First movement demands. President Trump picked the best to surround him, and she was integral both in his election and in helping the administration deliver for the American people. The rumor mill can keep spinning, but Suzy Wiles, who is undergoing treatment for breast cancer and doing well, is going nowhere, and America is the better for it. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance put Britain's political class on notice this week, blasting what he called the politics of self-hatred and the mass invasion of migrants after the brutal death of student Henry Nowak. Nowak was fatally stabbed in Southampton by Vikram Digma, who was later convicted of murder and sentenced to life with a minimum term of 21 years. The case has ignited outrage because police handcuffed the gravely wounded Nowak at the scene after Digwa falsely claimed that he had been racially abused. Reports say officers initially treated Nowak as the aggressor, despite his pleas that he had been stabbed and was bleeding to death. Vance's responses were direct and morally clear: righteous anger. While Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government bristled at American criticism and denied claims of two-tiered policing, Vance refused to indulge the usual establishment excuses. The vice president argued that Western nations must defend sovereignty, restore equal justice, and stop pretending mass migration and ideological policing have no consequences. The U.S. Department of State has already warned that ideological conditioning and two-tiered policing are symptoms of civilizational decline. Vance took that message further, reminding Britain that love of country, children, and Western civilization is not extremism. It is the foundation of a serious nation. British liberals accuse Vance of interference, but their outrage rings hollow after years of lecturing America on our own domestic controversies. Vance's message was simple: the West can still be saved, but only if its leaders choose courage over cowardice. Now, here's no surprise. A devastating Republican-led House Oversight Committee report lays bare Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's direct criminal negligence, or worse, in one of the largest fraud schemes in state or federal history. Senior Minnesota officials, including Governor Walz, ignored years of warnings about rampant fraud in social service programs, allowing hundreds of millions of confirmed losses and billions more in Medicare funds to simply vanish. With Walz's deliberate malfeasance and inaction, Somali immigrant networks could never have looted taxpayers on this scale. A 205-page report reveals that Governor Walz was well aware of the Feeding Our Future nonprofits' fake meal sites as early as 2020, yet payments continued for 2 more years. Concerns over racial discrimination claims trumped stopped fraud, while whistleblowers allege retaliation for raising alarms. Federal prosecutors have charged over 110 individuals, many tied to Minnesota's Somali community, with stolen funds allegedly funneled up overseas, in some cases to terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab. Luxury purchases by fraudsters mock struggling American families. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison responsible for one of the most stunning oversight failures in American history. The Walz administration chose to protect the scam machine over taxpayers, taking federal nutrition and Medicaid dollars meant for hungry children and putting that money into the pockets of scamming foreigners. This is not just incompetence, it's complicity. Walz's failure to act created the perfect environment for these schemes to thrive. President Trump's administration has already suspended $260 million in Medicaid funding to Minnesota, and J.D. Vance's anti-fraud task force is cleaning house. Tim Walz must be treated as the co-conspirator he is, investigated, charged, and held fully accountable with significant jail time. No more shielding Democrat insiders while Americans foot the bill. Real justice demands it. Meanwhile, radical left-wing Antifa militants unleashed pure savagery this weekend outside Turning Point USA's Women's Leadership Summit in Phoenix, confirming what patriots have long warned, that these masked thugs are domestic terrorists who must be treated under the full force of federal law. This past Saturday, Antifa rioters in masks swarmed entrances, clashed with police, hurled objects, and chanted, "Charlie Kirk deserved to die, Wilden hold up half the sky." Led by a megaphone-wielding agitator, they grotesquely reenacted the September 10th assassination of my friend Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University, instructing each other to be as loud as you can, be as obnoxious as you can, make these people hate us. Well, they succeeded. This demonic display targeted a summit celebrating holistic, empowered, and redeemed women, featuring speakers like Erica Kirk, Riley Gaines, Allie Beth Stuckey, and others. Inside, hecklers screamed vile lies at Erica Kirk, falsely accusing her of protecting pedophiles. Her graceful response highlighted the stark contrast between conservative values and leftist depravity. This comes as Tyler Robinson stands trial for Kirk's murder. His DNA is on the weapon, confessions to police, parents, and friends. Yet Antifa celebrates the killing in real time, proving the assassination was not an isolated act, but part of a coordinated campaign of leftist terror. Antifa's pattern of violence, doxing, and incitement demands immediate federal designation as a terrorist organization. No more kid gloves. These radicals threaten conservative leaders and people of common sense. They abhor free speech and civil society itself. President Trump and Republican attorney generals must prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. RICO charges, domestic terrorist enhancements, and lengthy prison sentences. Time for treating Antifa as mere protesters is over. They are enemies of order, liberty, and they must be crushed. Meanwhile, Anthony Konstantino, the successful entrepreneur and Trump-endorsed Republican candidate for New York's 21st congressional district, that's the seat being vacated by Elise Stefanik, is warning the establishment swamplings are waiting for President Donald Trump's era to pass so they can reclaim control of the Republican Party. Appearing on Breitbart News this past Saturday, Konstantino described himself as a super MAGA congressional candidate and said his campaign represents a broader fight to ensure the movement's future. He pointed to a recent debate moment which his opponent, Robert Smullen, veteran Republican assemblyman, refused to shake his hand, calling it a revealing clash between the old political class and the new MAGA generation. I view it as an important moment in the history of MAGA, Konstantino said, arguing that the entrenched Republicans in New York are hoping that MAGA just fades away. Let's face it, the New York State Republican Committee has not won a statewide race in 23 years. Konstantino, who was endorsed by Trump, said the debate proved the opposite. People are calling it a knockout. I beat this guy so badly, he said. As the chief executive officer of Sticker Mule, Konstantino brings a business builder's resume to the race. He's not a career politician, he's a businessman. And he's created an online printing company upstate that employs more than 1,000 people. The company serves more than 5 million customers across over 100 countries, employs again over 1,000 people, and operates manufacturing facilities in New York, South Carolina, and Italy. Konstantino argued that MAGA's future depends on electing fighters who will carry the movement forward after Trump has ridden off into the sunset. His message: the old guard may be waiting for MAGA to disappear, but a rising class of America First leaders is ready to take it into the next century. Konstantino will be leading that generation. I'm proud to have endorsed him myself for Congress, and I'm able to call this great patriot my friend. Meanwhile, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, in a decisive victory against radical woke policies, has diluted American institutions. The Department of War under Secretary Pete Hegseth has slashed its bloated list of religious affiliation codes from 211 to just 31. This May 20th memo, signed by Undersecretary Anthony Tata, streamlines support for service members' genuine spiritual needs, empowering chaplains to deliver targeted, effective ministry instead of pandering to every single fringe belief. Previous system had ballooned into absurdity under Biden era DEI pressure, with hundreds of rarely used codes that serve more as virtue signaling checkboxes than actual practical tools. Hegseth rightly called it impractical, noting that the vast majority of troops identified with 6 core affiliations. The new list includes faiths such as Christianity, that's Baptist, Catholic, Anglican, Methodist, Lutheran, Seventh-day Adventist, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, plus agnosticism, no religion, and other. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell emphasized the change equips chaplains to anticipate the religious support needs of service members' personal faith and practices. I'm Roger Stone, listening to Stone Zone, and we'll be right back.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
It is a great, great person, Roger Stone.
The Stone Zone. Stone Zone. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to The Stone Zone with Roger Stone. You can hear The Stone Zone with Roger Stone weeknights at 8 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.